What's up, my people, and welcome to the channel. My name is Diamond, and today I want to talk about credit cards. And no, I don't want to share the best credit cards to apply for, nor do I want to disparage credit card use altogether. What I want to do is take it a step further and talk about what happens after you get those credit cards. I want to share with you 6 tips that's going to make sure that you never find yourself in credit card debt. And if you are in credit card debt, these same tips can be used to help you get out of credit card debt. We hear the story all the time, how important your credit score is. And they tell you the best way to build your credit score is to get a credit card. They'll also say, use that credit card responsibly and make sure you pay that balance in full every single month so that you don't pay any interest. But it's just not that simple. That's like throwing the keys to your Corvette to a 10-year-old and telling them the gas is on the right, the brake is on the left. Now bring it back to me in one piece. It's just not that simple. And that's why we find over $1 trillion in credit card debt floating in America today. So let's dive deep to help you avoid the trap that millions of people find themselves in each and every day. And just so you don't think I'm another talking head on the internet, the information that I'm sharing in this video is learned through personal experience. I've personally ran up and paid off tens of thousands of dollars worth of credit card debt. So it don't matter if you're 18, 24, or 44, whether you never had any credit card debt or you're drowning in it. This information is for you. So let's jump in. The first tip is to understand that before you have debt, you have credit. So debt comes from credit. Now this may sound simple and silly, but this connection is extremely important because failure to make this connection can cause you to develop bad habits around credit utilization, which can lead to terrible spending habits. When you get approved for a credit card and you have a $1,000 limit, it don't feel like you was just given $1,000. Even when you go to the store and spend that $1,000, you max the card out, you still won't feel like you spent that money. It's not until you receive the statement and you have to make that payment for $1,000 and the money comes out of your account that you actually feel that $1,000. And if you fall into the trap of not paying your credit card off in full every month and you only make a partial payment, you may never feel that connection between credit and debt. So make sure you make that connection. Before you have debt, you had credit. So debt comes from credit. The second tip is, before you go out and sign up for a credit card, be sure that you have an emergency fund in place. The reason I say this is because a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking that their credit card is their emergency fund. So when something happens, they reach over for that card, they swipe and take care of it. But let's think about this. Emergencies are something that come up unexpectedly, usually at the worst possible time. And because we wasn't expecting it, quite frankly, we normally don't have the money to cover it unless you have an emergency fund. So it's one thing to take a credit card and put things on there that you know you can pay off that month. It's a totally different ballgame to start covering emergencies and putting things on there that you can't pay. And the idea that you can put something on a card and then you're just going to figure out where the money comes from later, that takes me back to the first tip. Before you have debt, you had credit. And credit creates the debt. So make sure you have an emergency fund in place. Now, how much of an emergency fund you should have? That's going to depend on where you're at in the game. If you're young, you're just getting off to college, $500 or $1,000 may be enough. If you're married with 6 kids and you have a commission-based job, you may want a year worth in your emergency fund. But make sure you have something in place that can cover things that may come up for you so that you don't use your credit card, put it on there, and then end up having to pay your emergency off plus all the interest. And we're going to get into why the interest is a big deal later on in this video. But make sure that emergency fund is in place. The third step is crucial to staying out of credit card debt. And it's just as important to help you get out of credit card debt. And that is to live on a budget. You have to have a budget because what you don't want is your credit cards to become an extension of your income. What I mean by that is you use your income, you're not on a budget, you're buying food, groceries, doing everything you want to do, but you run out of money. So you reach over for your credit card to put gas in the car. You reach over for another credit card to put groceries in the house because you ran out of money. You see, how are you going to be able to pay off the credit card in full every single month if you've already spent all your money and you're extending yourself out onto the credit cards? This is something that happens to a lot of people and it creeps up on you because it's not overnight. This debt is not built in 1 month. This is a snowball rolling in the wrong direction. So you have to be on a budget, because whatever you put on the credit card, if you plan on paying it off in full every single month, that means it had to be included in what your monthly income can cover. And if you're not using the budget, then it's very easy to overspend. And if you didn't make that connection from the first tip, then it makes it even easier to overextend and use your credit card as an extension of your budget, as an extension of your income. So a budget is absolutely necessary. The fourth tip is one that people normally don't catch on to until after they find themselves deep in credit card debt. But I want to share it with you right here. And that's the high interest rate of credit cards make them extremely difficult to pay off. So if you're not paying your credit card statement balance in full every single month, then you're going to get hit with interest. And interest on credit cards can be 10% all the way up to 30%. So this high interest rate makes it hard to pay it off. So you can't just send them $20 here or $50 there. That's not going to put a dent in credit card debt. So let me show you what I mean. Take a look at this credit card statement here. This balance is just over $1,600. The minimum payment is $28. It says right here that if you pay the minimum payment, it will take you 13 years to pay it off. And that $1,600 worth of goods and services that you put on there is going to cost you nearly $6,000. But look, it gets better. They're trying to help you out. If you send $80, now you're going to get it paid off in 3 years. And you're still going to pay almost $3,000 for what originally you purchased for just over $1,600. And this is because of the high interest rate on credit cards. And this is why you can't just send them an extra $10, $20, or $50. If you find yourself in credit card debt, the only way to really get out and really make some progress is to send big, fat payments to the company to get that thing out of your life. So understand this before you ever go into credit card debt, that if you put something on a credit card that you are not able to pay off, the high interest rate is going to cost you a lot of money. And you will be spending more than you originally purchased. And that's just the nature of the game. So be aware of that. This is why I want you to follow the tips in this video. Because if you don't make the connection between credit and debt, and you don't have an emergency fund, you're not living on a budget, but you want to build your credit score, you could very well find yourself in a situation where you have to get something done. And the only way you can do it is to use the credit cards that you have at your disposal. And this is part of the reason why we have over $1 trillion worth of debt. It's not just a bunch of irresponsible people running around spending like they're teenagers with no self-control. It's people who don't have the information that I'm sharing with you in this video, so they have to go out there and learn it the hard way. Trust me, I know that's part of the reason why I ended up with so much credit card debt. And let me tell you, it's so much easier to watch a 10-minute YouTube video and learn how to never go into credit card debt than it is to try to pay off credit card debt. It's like quicksand. You don't want no parts of it, I'm telling you. The fifth tip is my favorite tip, and that is track your net worth, not your credit score. Now, before you click off the video, I get it. I hear the same messages as you. Credit scores are important. We need credit scores to live. I hear it too. But go with me for a minute. What is your credit score? It's a number that you didn't ask for, but it's assigned to you based off of how well you interact with your credit and your debt. It really tells how well you pay your bills. But on the other hand, your net worth is your assets minus your liabilities. Now go with me to the first tip. Let's go back. Debt comes from credit. Before you have debt, you have credit. So you can see how if you're solely focused on your credit score over here, it can be competing with your net worth, because debt, i.e. liabilities, lower your net worth. So if you're over here focused on your credit score and you're doing different moves to make your credit score go up, it may cause you to use debt in a way that could affect your net worth. And that is not a good thing, because your credit score can't pay your mortgage. Your credit score can't pay your medical bills, and it can't provide you the life that you dream of. Well, it can temporarily, but it won't take you long to max out and tap out. So your credit score alone is not going to get you where you want to go in life. So my advice is make sure that your net worth is always higher than your credit limit. You don't want to be one of these people all giddy because they have $50,000 in available trade lines. But when you take a closer look, their retirement's off track and they don't have $10,000 to their name. This is not where you want to be. This is going in the wrong direction. So make sure your net worth is your priority and you keep things in perspective. Now, before I go into tip 6, I'm going to ask that you like this video if you're getting value out of it and comment down below with any tips that you feel should be added to this list. And I'll wait. I'll give you a second because this 6th tip is going to ruffle some feathers. And that tip is you don't need them. Now, I know some of y'all are saying, what's wrong with that fool? Don't he know that credit cards are the #1 method recommended to build your credit and build it fast? It's the easiest way to get a high credit score. I understand completely. But what I want you to pay attention to is the FICO scoring model. This is the most widely used credit scoring model out there. And what I really want you to pay attention to is just how small of a percent your credit mix counts towards your credit score. You have payment history, big chunk. You have amount owed, another big chunk. But then you have credit mix, teeny tiny 10%. A lot of people will tell you that the perfect credit mix is an installment loan, like a car loan, revolving credit, like a credit card, and a mortgage. But nowhere can you find in FICO's documentation that if you don't have a credit card, you can't have a good credit score. In fact, it says that you don't need all types of credit to have the perfect mix. So while credit cards are the most popular method used to build your credit score, they also are the most dangerous form of credit when you combine high credit limits with high interest rate and you make it easy to use. It can cause problems. Now, I know a lot of people will say, I'm responsible and I'm going to pay my bill on time. I'll pay it in full. You don't have to worry about that. I'll never pay any interest. But put yourself in this person's shoes. You have an ailing relative who lives across the country. You didn't follow any of the tips in this video. So you purchase your plane ticket on your credit card. You come home to find out that you were fired from your job. And because you were fired, you fall behind on your car note and your insurance. The state suspends your license because you're driving a car with no insurance. Despite all of this, you go out and find another job. But it's going to take you 3 weeks to get a full paycheck. So forget trying to pay your credit cards. Everything in your life is all going haywire. And you're just trying to play catch up. And it takes months to get your life back on track. Now, I don't know this person. I just made him up. But this very well could be someone who's watching this video. This may be the story of someone you know. You have to remember, debt is not always formed because people are just irresponsible and they're out there buying big screen TVs with surround sound systems. Life happens. And that's why it's important for you to follow the tips in this video. Because if you talk to anybody who's had to dig their way out of credit card debt or debt in general for that matter, they'll tell you it's not worth it. Go track your net worth, not your credit score. Which brings me back to one more point, which you can call a bonus tip if you want. When you're looking at your credit score, you have to understand that there are over 9 different types of FICO credit scores. And that's not counting the Vantage scores that's out there. Then you add in the fact that lenders can use any variation of these scores, and they have the ability to create their own scoring mechanism. This makes it extremely difficult to accurately track your credit score. And usually, your official credit score is lower than the one you've been tracking. On top of that, the lender is typically going to use a different scoring model than the one you've been tracking. So track what's important. Focus on the behaviors because your credit score is based off of your behaviors. Focus on the behaviors and track your net worth. I hope this video saves you thousands of dollars of interest and years of heartache, therefore significantly increasing your net worth. Until next time, I'm Diamond. Peace.